Okay, good morning. This week we have the privilege of studying and reading Parshas Ki Savo as we're plowing our way through Sefer Dvarim and getting ready to complete the Torah once again. As always, we'll do an overview of the Parsha and then we'll get into, hopefully, if time allows, we'll get into some specific psukim together. Our Parsha begins with the mitzvah of Bikurim, the obligation of the first fruit. Vayaki Savo al ha'aretz asher Hashem Elokecha nosein lecha nachala v'yirishta v'yeshavta ba. When you enter the land, and when you inhabit it, when you conquer it, then the Torah tells us v'lakachta me'reishis kol pri ha'adama. We'll take the first fruit. And this mitzvah of Bikurim is done with tremendous pomp and circumstance. It's done with an enormous parade, with a huge celebration. The farmer ties off his first fig, ties off his first fruit, dedicates it, allocates it, clips it, brings it to Yerushalayim, and dances it to the Kohen with a big parade in which there's an enormous ceremony, a big ritual, a huge celebration that takes place. Mikra Bikurim. The Medrash says that in the merit of this mitzvah of Mikra Bikurim, the whole world was created and the whole world is sustained. It's Mikra Bikurim. Bikurim is called Reishis. May Reishis Kopri Adama. Jewish people are called Reishis. We are the first. And the Torah is called, Reishis is called the first. And it's in the merit of this mitzvah, which is a peculiar comment, because it's a really somewhat insignificant mitzvah. A fig, a fruit, a piece of produce, something insignificant, inconsequential. This is not an enormous donation. It's not an enormous gift. It doesn't require enormous mesiras nefesh. We have other mitzvahs that demand much greater self-sacrifice, much greater of our resources, our time, our energy, much more of a commitment. So why is Bikurim celebrated as this enormous mitzvah? On Sunday I gave a shir based on the Slonimer at Nesiva Shalom. You can listen online. And he brought one perspective or one attitude. But I want to share with you another based on the Sefer HaChinuch. Because the Parsha describes that when the farmer would bring the Bikurim to Yerushalayim, Ubasa lakohen asher yeh bayamim hahem v'amarta elav. So whether it was the Mikra Bikurim, then the Vidoy Meiser that followed, when the farmer would confess the distribution of his tithes, there was a recitation, there was a proclamation that he would make. What was it? I am affirming that I've come to the land that God promised. The Kohen takes and places it before the altar. And now we tell our story. Now we're familiar with this section. We're not going to delve into it in depth now. We're all familiar with this section from where? Haggadah. From the Haggadah. This is the core, this is the centerpiece of the Haggadah. And the Balei Haggadah, all the many commentaries in the Haggadah debate. Whom are we speaking about? Arami Oved Avi. My father, an Aramean, tried to destroy my father. Who is that Aramean? Lavan. There's different interpretations. What are we talking about? Why are we invoking it in the context of the Haggadah? But moreover, why is the farmer invoking it now? This is such a happy moment. You've come to Yerushalayim, you're celebrating the success of your agricultural season. You've harvested your first fruit. So what are you revisiting all of the misery? There's the Inquisition, then we were expelled from Spain, and then the Ordre de Fe, and then we had the Holocaust, and the pogroms, and now there's rockets coming from Hamas. What do you have to fashter every simcha? Just come and give your first fruit. You have to undermine the joy of the moment by reviewing history until that point. Lest you think I'm happy, God. Lest you think I could be in the moment and celebrate with joy. I remember all the misery. I remember all of the history. Arami Ovid Avi Vayerid Mitzrayim Avayagar Sham B'msei Ma'at But Vayisham L'Gai Gadol. It is a succinct history of our Jewish people. Why are we telling this whole story? At the end, V'ata, we complete the story by saying, and now here I am. After all that, here I stand in the land that you promised, with my fruit, that you gave me. And you place it before God and you bow down. The farmer doesn't keep that first fruit, he gives it to God. In contrast to Meiser. The 10% the farmer has to give away, but only after he gets to keep the 90%. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 10, I get to keep. The 10th, God says, give to my other children. You say, no problem, because I get to keep the other 90. Here, the first fruit, you've got to give it without knowing what else is to come. It's rachis, it's the first, it's the beginning. You're willing to devote, you're willing to dedicate, you're willing to give, even without knowing what is yet to come. And what feeling do you have? You should be filled with gladness, with joy, with happiness, simcha, because of chol hatov, all the good. So Rashi says that when you come to this Kohen, you come to the Kohen, Asher yeh b'yamim will be in your day, v'yamarta elav. We're on Pasuk Gimel, go all the way back. Perek Chavav, Pasuk Gimel, the beginning of the parasha, Ki Savo. Ubasa lakon Asher yeh b'yamim v'yamarta elav. What are you telling the Kohen? So look at Rashi. Rashi says, Asher yeh b'yamim ein lacha ela Kohen shebiyamecha. Of course you go to the Kohen in your day. You don't get a time machine. You don't get to go back in time and go to a Kohen in another day. You don't get to go to the Kohen in the future. We talked about this, I think, last week, that you're stuck with your Kohen in your day. Yiftach B'dora Kishmul B'dora. The leader in your generation, every generation gets leaders whom they deserve. If we don't like our leaders, we should look in the mirror. We get leaders who parallel ourselves. We get the leaders that we deserve, and our attitude. We spoke about this with Lososur. Our attitude towards our leaders have to be the same in every generation. When we merit to have the greatest leaders, or when we have leaders who we think we could do better. In either case, Yiftach B'dor Kishmul B'doro, the attitude, the fidelity, the loyalty, the commitment to follow has to equal. V'yamarta elav, says Rashi, she'encha kafui tova. What is the v'yamarta elav? Why is the farmer saying this whole thing? This is my point. And I'd like to suggest this is the meaning behind the medrash, that it's in the merit of the mitzvah of Bikurim that the whole world exists. What does that mean? So Rashi says, why is the farmer making this proclamation? Why is he offering this recitation? What is the farmer saying? Rashi says, Amarta elav, he's telling this, why? She'encha kafui tova. What is he really saying to God? What he's saying to God is, I am not an ingrate. I don't take for granted this little thing. And why don't I take it for granted? Because I am living the past, the present, and the future simultaneously. Because I'm not only in this moment in the here and now, I'm not only in it for myself, I'm not only measuring my life against what I wish I could have and want right now, but I live in 3 dimensions simultaneously, 3 realms. I am aware of my past, acutely aware of my past. I'm fully in the present, and I have an eye towards the future. And because I know where I come from and what we went through, I don't take being in Israel and having this little fig for granted. I'm not kafui tova, God. I am not an ingrate. I am not unthankful. I am not ungracious. Eincha kafui tova. I am not an ingrate. And the Sefer HaChinuch writes on this mitzvah Tov Reish Vav, Al kein behetiv lo Hashem yisbarach, ubeberchaso aso, ves admaso lasas peros, v'zacha la'aviyam lebeis Elokeinu, Roy lo la'orer levavo b'divrei piv, v'lachshav ki hakol higieh elav me'is adon ha'olam. This farmer should feel, behetiv lo Hashem yisbarach, God is so good to him. Wow, my eyes work, my ears work, my feet work, my hands work. My farm is working. It rained, I had the right weather, I have produce, I have income. I am filled with bracha. An admaso, on my land. I own land, I have real estate. And it's not in Uganda, it's in Israel. It's in the land the whole world is envious of and fighting over. In the holiest place on earth, I have real estate, I have land, says this farmer. And I merited to work it, and for it to succeed, and it to produce, and to yield produce. So now he comes and says, he has to arouse his heart. He has to wake up. B'divrei piv. And how do you wake up with gratitude? Gratitude can't just remain in your heart. Gratitude has to be communicated with your lips and with your actions. And to feel, everything I have, my tractor, my hay, my barn, my horse, everything I have, the farmer has to feel, is only because of the graciousness, the goodness of Hashem. So when you're overwhelmed with gratitude, you don't keep it to yourself. When you're overwhelmed with gratitude, you intuitively, instinctively can't help but share it, but express it, but tell someone about it. Listen to what happened, or I'm such a good mood, or I can't believe I'm so happy. Yisaper chasadav. Yalkein mascha b'inyan Yaakov shechotzu akel miyad Lavan v'inyan avodas hamitzrim b'no v'atzilenu baruch hu miyadam. Says the Sefer HaChinuch, and that's why the farmer is revisiting history. Not because he's fabisna and fashtering all simcha. You think I'm happy? You think I don't know what we went through? It's the opposite. Hashem, I know what we went through. So that I am here right now, and I have this bracha right now, it makes it all the sweeter. It makes it all the more beautiful. I'm so much more appreciative of it because I know where I come from and what my ancestors endured. And that only makes me more and more and more grateful. And that's why he's revisiting it. I don't take for granted what Yaakov had to overcome with Lavan. I don't take for granted our journey through Jewish history. And now, I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude, I can't keep it to myself. I refuse to be a kafui tov. I won't be ungrateful. I will shout from the rooftops to whomever will listen how good you are to me, how appreciative I am, and how I am counting all the blessings in my life. And maybe that's the Ramchal writes in Mesilas Yesharim, the 8th parak. The Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato, writes the following: Omna Mashiachol lahagber hisorus la'avodas Hashem u'istaklas barov hatova shakadosh baruch hu asim ma'adam b'chol eis v'chol sha'ah. What can, and I share this with you here in Elul in particular, we're all looking for something to kickstart our Elul. We're looking for something to motivate and inspire our avodas Hashem. I really want to be on fire. I want my davening to be charged. I want to be motivated to learn. I want to be inspired to improve. But we're stuck in a rut. It says the Ramchal in the 8th parak of Mesilas Yesharim, you want to know what could be a Kickstarter? You want to know what could jumpstart your avodas Hashem? Taking a moment and pausing and thinking about the good that Hashem has given you. And it doesn't mean to say that everyone in this room only has good and hasn't had challenges. There are people in this room and there are people in every room who have had to endure difficult challenges, some of them unimaginable, some of them hard to wake up in the morning and move on. And yet, even within that, we can allow our lives to be defined by the challenges, and therefore to not only lose whoever or whatever we've lost in the past, but to therefore give up and lose everything in the present and the future, whoever remains, children, grandchildren, friends, our lives. Or, says the Ramchal, if we'd stop and take an inventory of the bracha in our life, despite the hardship, despite the challenges, where is the bracha? What blessings do I still have? Who are the people? What are the things? What are the resources? What are the moments? What are the experiences? Where are the blessings? And when we take inventory of the bracha of our lives, then we can't help but feel connected to the source of that blessing. We can't help but feel connected to the one who's granted us those blessings. Says Ramchal, from our birth until today, what led to where we are? The more that we emphasize, the more time we spend, the greater the inventory we take of the bracha, the more aware and mindful and conscientious we are of the bracha in our lives. So you will be overwhelmed with a feeling of gratitude to the one who bestowed it upon you, and you'll feel more connected to him. And it won't grow tired, it won't grow old. If someone did an enormous favor, if a doctor saved your life, if a lawyer got you out of a horrible case, if a financial advisor saved you from an enormous financial loss or made you a huge amount of money, if you would just remind yourself, or every time you saw that person, or every time you relived that episode, you would be overwhelmed with gratitude. You want to make a phone call, you'd want to see that person, you'd want to give them a hug, you'd want to get them a gift. You would just feel this pull to feel connected to the one who did that incredible teva, the great good for you. Well, if that's true in the mundane sense down here with the lawyer, the doctor, the financial advisor, alachas kama v'kama, all the more so, says the Mesilas Yesharim. It's true if we would just take inventory and recognize that all the goodness and any bracha in our lives is all from Hashem. So that's my suggestion, based on the Sefer HaChinuch and the Ramchal. Maybe that's what the Medrash means, that the whole world exists in the merit of the mitzvah of Bikurim. It's not the fig, it's not the first kernel, it's not the first apple, the grape, it's not the first fruit that is the source of the whole world's existence, but perhaps it means that the whole character of the mitzvah, the theme, the essence of the mitzvah, is to cultivate within ourselves a sense of gratitude, hakaras hatov, to live life walking around being grateful for the bracha. You could only see the bad, and then you'll be miserable your whole life. Or you could only see the good, and then you'll be happy and energized. The choice is ours, because happiness is not an emotion, Happiness is a decision. Gratitude is not a feeling. Gratitude is a decision. It's a decision. We use it as an excuse. It's a cop-out to say, I don't feel gratitude. I don't feel happy. Who said happiness is a feeling? Who said gratitude is a feeling? It's not a feeling, it's a decision. It's a decision to be grateful. It's a decision to be happy. And it's decisions that shapes and molds the whole character of the rest of our lives, the quality of our lives, the experience, the joy of our lives. So whether the current bracha will turn into new bracha is up to us. You have to see the bracha, which is also a theme in our parsha, because the parsha continues with brachas and klalos, and it says v'hisigucha, which I've shared some of these divrei Torah, many of these divrei Torah in the past, but the whole notion of v'hisigucha is the bracha will overcome you. Rav Zevin says v'hisigucha is like a hasaga of the Ravid and the Rambam. You know what the biggest bracha is? The biggest bracha is to see the bracha that you already have. All of these brachas will come upon you and you will acquire them. If last week I gave you a Dvar Torah based on my brother Zufraf, this is the Dvar Torah I heard from his father-in-law at his Shabbat Sheva brachas. So Rav Zevin says, what does it mean the word v'hisigucha? If you have the brachas, what do you need to v'hisigucha? And if you didn't v'hisigucha, then you don't have the brachas. What does it add the word v'hisigucha? So Rav Zevin says, what it adds is this bracha all around us. You woke up, you have a roof, you have a car, you have eyes and legs and feet and organs that work, you have a few resources in the bank, you have people around you, you have love. So there are bracha in your life. There is bracha in your life. But v'hisigucha, but do you have a hasaga about the bracha? Do you see it? Do you recognize it? Do you feel it? Are you overwhelmed with the appreciation and joy? Do you live a life of awareness of it? So having the bracha, that Hashem provides. But seeing it, the decision, again, not the emotion, that decision is up to us, and this is the theme of the whole parsha. Maybe we'll come back to it still if we have, but later in the Tochacha, when Hashem pinpoints the reason, He says, you want to know? He says, let me tell you about every miserable, heinous, graphic, physical, material punishment you can imagine. You being destroyed, your children dying prematurely, your field being destroyed, losing all your finances, whatever are the worst curses that you can imagine, that's what Hashem tells us we're going to get. And then He reduces it to its core and He says, and you know why that's going to happen? And He doesn't say because you cheated on your taxes, or on your spouse, or because you cheated on me, you worshipped an idol, or because you violated Shabbos, or because you didn't keep Yom Kippur. It's not what He says. When He has to reduce it to its core and He says, you know why I'm going to visit all those horrific curses on you? He says, because Tachas Hashem lo avadas Hashem lekecha, b'simcha u'b'tuv lev. You know why? Because I gave you so much bracha and you walked around so miserable. And there's nothing worse than when you did something nice for someone and they're unappreciative. There's nothing worse than when you see someone who should be filled with such simcha and all they have is misery. You say, you know what? I have no interest in being around you. Your negative energy is just going to bring me down, nor do I have an interest in doing anything nice for you going forward. Because you can't see kindness and you feel no appreciation for kindness. I have no interest in giving it to you. So that's what Kodesh Baruch Hu says. I've been protecting you and shielding you, but I'm going to withdraw my countenance from you and you will be exposed to all the elements. Why? Because when I shower you with that kindness, you don't even see it. You have no hasaga. You have no gratitude. You're not like the farmer with bikurim. And that's the purpose and essence of the whole world, is to be not a kafui tov, not an ingrate, but to be an individual who's overwhelmed with gratitude. What do we call that? Not a kafui tov. What do we call gratitude in Hebrew? Hakaras hatov. It's not a coincidence. Hakaras hatov. It's a very long way of saying grateful. It doesn't even translate to grateful. What do the words hakaras hatov mean? Hakaras hatov means to see the goodness, to recognize the goodness. Because gratitude is not an emotion. Hakaras hatov is an action. So the Torah is not mandating gratitude as an emotion. It doesn't say feel grateful. It says hakaras, be makir tov. Recognize. Take a moment and pause and recognize. In our generation, it's easier than most because there are all kinds of apps for your phone of gratitude journals. I'm not joking. There's alarms that set throughout the day to pause and be grateful. There are things that you can start the day, end the day, gratitude journals to keep track, to be grateful. When you fill out you can do it the old-fashioned way with a pen and a notebook too, but if you keep a gratitude journal, it'll change your life, it'll transform your life. And it can't just be the same corny things. Every night you go to bed, grateful I was alive and I have a roof and I have children. You got to actually say, I'm so grateful that today, this thing I thought wouldn't work out, did work out. I'm so grateful today, I had this moment, and it was so amazing, and it was so special, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so grateful for if you articulate, you're makir, we identify and we're makir tov, like the farmer, we refuse to be kafui tov, then it's in that schus that the whole world exists, and maybe what it means is not the world as in the globe or the cosmos, but it means our world. Our world, the equilibrium, the joy of our world exists because of the choice to be happy. Tachas Hashem avarta. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. It's the theme, to walk around b'simcha, to be b'simcha. That's why Kosh Baruch Hu says, no sad faces, no fabissina people. Just be b'simcha. Be b'simcha. I try to make a concerted effort because I can't stand, I've shared this before, when you see people, how are you, what's going on? Could be worse, could be better, or this is a tough day, or whatever. It doesn't mean people aren't entitled to have their problems, and you're entitled to have good friends and confidants in whom you unload your problems and seek support and advice. But when you see people, just be a bowl of positive energy. Be b'simcha. No matter what's going on in my life, people say, how you doing? I always say, never better. Never better. Everything's great. It's never better. It's never better. Mak your tov. Everything's fantastic. First of all, I guarantee whatever you're going through, I see this a lot as a rabbi, which is why maybe I work hard to do this. Whatever you're going through, be grateful for your pekel. Whatever you're going through. Mak your tov. See the good. Nobody wants your negative energy. Could be better, could be worse. Listen, what happened and a thing and that. Nobody wants your negative energy. Again, have a friend, a confidant, a family member. You confide, you find your support. When you walk around, I know because when you encounter the people like that, you just walk around. They just sucked a piece of your life away from you. The negative energy. Be b'simcha, simcha sachayim. Just have a joy for life, a simcha sanefesh, a simcha sachayim. Tachas hashlav, ivdu as Hashem b'simcha. We have so many makoros that you can't serve Hashem other than with simcha. I'll give you a few more of them. Still the overview of the parsha, the overview of the overview of the overview of the parsha. But I'll give you a few more of these makoros. First of all, we know the Gemara says in Brachos Daf Lamed Aleph, Ein omdim lehispala lo mitoch atzvus, lo mitoch atzlus, lo mitoch schok, lo mitoch sicha, lo mitoch kalos rosh. When you get up to daven, what's the energy? What's the emotion? What's the attitude that you should be getting up? You want to have a successful daven. You want to connect. You want an intimate rendezvous with your Creator. You want to feel that you spoke to Him. There was a bond. You want to feel closer. So not atzvus. You can't be sad. You can't be lazy. You can't be joking around. You can't have a frivolous mentality. V'lo mitoch dvarim b'telim, ela mitoch simcha shel mitzvah. The Gemara says, walk into davening with simcha shel mitzvah. Give tzedakah on the way in, do chesed on the way in. The Arizal said, "Be mekayim v'yahavta l'orecha kamocha" on the way in. But be b'simcha. Before you ever daven, think about something you're grateful for. Before you start davening, you want to feel connected. Be b'simcha. Something that's going to put you in a good mood, a simcha sachayim. Be b'simcha. El mitoch simcha shel mitzvah. The Yerushalmi in Sukkah tells us, Amar ben Yonah ben Amitai me'oli regalah mai v'nichnas l'simchas beis ha'shoeva v'sharas l'ruach HaKodesh l'lamedcha she'en ruach HaKodesh shora ela al lev sameach. You want ruach HaKodesh, if you want divine insight, divine inspiration, you can't have ruach HaKodesh unless you're b'simcha. Hashem doesn't want to hang out with you when you're sad and feel this and miserable and negative. I don't want to hang out with you. You don't want to hang out with you. Nobody wants to hang out with you. Hashem doesn't want to hang out with you. So if you want a Kodesh Baruch Hu, you want to feel His hand on your shoulder, if you want Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, the Yerushalmi in Sukkah says, then you need to be b'simcha, a leiv sameach. Your disposition, your predisposition has to be your default. Doesn't mean you don't have moments of sadness. Doesn't mean you don't have moments of hardship, of reflection, of depression. But it means that your default is leiv samech. It's ikar avoda. It is our ikar avoda, and again, you see that from our parsha. I think it's one of the themes from the beginning, the bikurim, that the farmer's not a kafui tov. He chooses, not the emotion, chooses to be b'simcha all the way through. Okay, I have a lot to tell you. I'm running out of time. Let me tell you some more. Vidoy Meiser, farmer confesses, the most unusual confession of all time. I don't recommend trying it at home. It's the most unusual confession of all time. Honey, I have a confession to make. I am the best husband that ever lived. I've never done anything wrong. Everything you ask me, I do right. Feeling pretty good. And I'm the best. And I'm happy to have shared that confession with you. Now, if that sounds strange, that's exactly the confession that the farmer makes here. He says, Lo avarti mi mitzvosecha v'lo shachachti. Here I am, Hashem. Just want to let you know, didn't do anything wrong, got it all right. did the mitzvahs properly, I haven't forgotten anything, lo achalti boni mimeni, I didn't eat it in the wrong state, lo biyarti mimeni b'tamei, lo nasati mimeni l'meis, shamati b'kol Hashem Elokai, I listened to everything you told me, I've done it all right. Asisi kachol asher tzivi sani, I followed your instruction to the T. And all the commentaries ask, and we're not going to give answers right now, what kind of confession is that? Isn't a confession about what I did wrong? Isn't confession about where I came up short? Now it's really important to understand what confession is about, because come Saturday night we're going to start offering a bunch of them for 10 days straight. We're about to start saying slichos, vidui. We're about to start saying a bunch of confessions. So it's really important to understand what it is. We've spoken about it in the past. You can listen online a definition of what vidui is. But I'll tell you one beautiful insight from the Sfas Emes. Because here the farmer says, Lo avarti mitzvosecha v'lo shachachti. I didn't violate your mitzvos, and I didn't forget. What is it that he didn't forget? So look at Rashi. Lo shachachti. So look at Rashi, what did I forget? Lo shachachti milavarechecha al hafrashos maisros. I didn't forget to make the bracha. Not only did I do the mitzvah of separating the tithe, but says Rashi, Lo shachachti milavarechecha. I didn't forget to make a bracha. And this is in fact one of the sources. Making brachos is not Torah, it's D'Rabbanan, it's a rabbinic commandment. We say birchas hanen and a bracha before we indulge in the pleasures of this world, from eating food to a pleasant aroma. People think that the bracha, borei minei v'samim, is a havdalah bracha. It's not a havdalah bracha, it's a bracha. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you smell a pleasant aroma, of course there are criteria that determine when you make the bracha, which bracha you make, borei minei v'samim, matzei v'samim, and so on. But it's not a Havdalah bracha. We only say it Motzei Shabbos. Why? Because we're comforting our Neshama Yisera that left us. The Neshama Yisera left us, we need to comfort our weekday Neshama that our Shabbos Neshama is gone for the week. How do we comfort it? Because we imbibe a pleasant aroma. And that demands that we make a bracha on the pleasant aroma. Borei minei v'samim. Tosfos has a debate. Do you make that bracha if you have Shabbos going into Yontif? Does the Neshama Yisera remain on Yontif, or does Yontif the Neshama Yisera leave? Is the Neshama Yisera only Shabbos, or for Yontif as well? And that's the machlokas. Do you make a Borei minei v'samim when you make Yak Nahaz, the Havdalah of Motzei Shabbos going into Yontif? I gave the Chabura a couple weeks ago on Shabbos morning. I spoke about the hurricane shilas we had from a year ago, where we davened Marav after Plag HaMincha, because the hurricane was scheduled to hit. When you daven Marav after Plag on Shabbos afternoon, which you're allowed to do, you can say Havdalah as a Plag HaMincha. The sun is high in the sky, you're saying Havdalah. So do you say Besamim in that Havdalah? Obviously you don't say Borei Merei Ha'ish. The Isser Malacha remains. You can't light a candle till nightfall, but you could say Havdalah. So that you do. So do you say Borei Merei Besamim? It's machlokas between the Pri Megadim, the Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Alter Rebbe. What are they arguing? What are they debating? They're debating when you say Havdalah as a Plag, does the Neshama Yisera leave or stay? Again, you can't do Malacha till nightfall, but does the Kedusha of Shabbos change? Does it become Saturday night already as of Saturday afternoon when you said Havdalah? You still can't do Malacha, but does the status of the day change? So anyway, that's why, but Besamim is, why did I get into this? Oh, Besamim, because you make a bracha, Birchas Hanenin, not only on what you eat, good food, but what you smell, a pleasant aroma, you also make a Birchas Hanenin. That bracha is D'Rabbanan, it's not biblical. Yet, our rabbis find an allusion in several places. This is one of them, our pasuk, that the farmer says, Lo shachachti. What didn't I forget? Rashi says, Milavarechecha. I did the mitzvah, I separated the meiser, and I even didn't forget to make a bracha. I proudly made a bracha. So the Sfas Emes says, based on this, that there's a strong lesson hinted to in the words, Lo shachachti, about how we make brachas. See, when you mumble a bracha, Shahakal Mazonos, whatever bracha you're making, if you mumbled it and you raced through it to the point that when you were done eating you don't even remember making the bracha, then it's as if you didn't say the bracha. What's the farmer proudly saying? Lo shachachti. I didn't forget making the bracha. I was so present when I said the bracha. I articulated it slowly, and I articulated it with thoughtfulness and with intention, so much so, lo shachachti. In other words, when I'm done eating, I can tell you I made a bracha because I've created the habit to make a bracha. But do I really remember being present in the word shakol niyeh bidvaro? No, I mumbled. I swallowed the shahakol faster than I did the iced tea. So that the Sfas Emes says, Torah here is telling us, v'lo shachachti. Not only did I make a bracha, but I made a quality, the bracha of such quality that lo shachachti, that I didn't forget making the bracha. The bracha was such a quality, so slowly, with such kavanah, with such intention, that lo shachachti, it was such a high quality bracha that I didn't forget making the bracha. That's how special that bracha is. Sfas Emes says that is a lesson here in our parsha about making brachas. Okay, then we get into the relationship of Hashem and the Jewish people, how inseparable we are. Parsha continues, a new bris, a new covenant that we forge when we enter the land, these stones that we place in the middle of the Yarden split, not in two, it split in one. There was one wall, not like Kriyas Yamsuf, we passed in front of it, in between it we had to place these enormous stones. We've spoken about this in the past as well. The whole Torah was written on these stones. I think it's the Abarbanel, with such a beautiful insight, that they represent a mezuzah for the whole land of Israel. Just like a doorway of a room has a mezuzah, the stones in which the whole Torah was engraved on the Yarden as you cross the border into Israel was the equivalent of a mezuzah for the whole land of Israel. We have the brachas and klolos, har grisim and har eval, standing on both sides, the magnificent brachas. But before we do, Parsha says the following, the prelude to the brachas and klolos. Moshe tells the people, he says, be attentive, haskes, pay attention, ushma, and listen. Today, you became a people to Hashem, your God. What does it mean, hayom? Today you became a people to your God. What does that mean? What does it mean? Rashi says, every day you wake up, you should see yourself. Every day, wake up, you should see yourself like you just became Jewish today. You just established this relationship today. You just stood under the chuppah with Hashem today. Imagine the quality of your marriage if every day you woke up and said, I am as excited to be married today as I was the day I was walking down the aisle. Even though you thought you were in love then, you didn't know what love was, you didn't know what marriage was, you didn't know what anything was. But the excitement, the passion, the joy, the enthusiasm, imagine if every day you woke up with a sense of renewal. Says Rashi, that's why Hashem says, Hayom. Hayom. Where's the pasuk? Hayom hazen yiyes la'am. Today, every day you wake up and say, today, b'chol yom b'yom yu b'necha kilo hayom basa imo b'bris. As if today is when I entered the bris. The great Piyazetz Rebbe, Hashem Yikom Damo, the great Piyazetz Rebbe, who, by the way, a couple weeks ago, when the United States just deported one of the last living Nazis back to Germany, so this was one of the guards in the Trauniki death camp, which is where the Piyazetz Rebbe was killed. Very possibly he was involved with the death of the Piyazetz Rebbe. So when we talk about the Piyazetz Rebbe, we're not talking about somebody from ancient times years ago. Someone who was involved in his murder is alive today in his late 90s and should suffer whatever time he has left here on this earth. So the Piyazetz Rebbe writes in his Savo, in his intellectual diary, which is a magnificent work that Savo appears in the back of the Sefer Achsharas Avreichim. The Piyazetz Rebbe once laments, he says, Ribono Shalom, if only I could have been born non-Jewish and made the choice to convert to be close to you. He laments, right? He laments, said many Jews inappropriately violate the most repeated mitzvah in the Torah, and they're negative about converts or disparage converts or hesitate to let their children date or marry a convert. The rabbinic attitude is exactly the opposite. Converts are the highest, most lofty. Kashan Yisrael, Kashan Geilim Yisrael Kesapachas. Converts are a thorn in our side because they remind us of what real zeal and enthusiasm look like, what real self-sacrifice, Mesiras Nefesh looks like, what real opting in looks like. So the Piyazetz Rebbe says, if only I could have made the choice to enter the covenant, if only I would have converted to be a Jew, and I could have displayed that opting in, I could have elected, I could have made the choice to be Jewish, that would have been the greatest display, Hashem, of love and devotion to you. That's a fulfillment of these words. Live every day like you converted to Judaism today. Not I was born into it and I've been doing it since I emerged from the womb and I don't know any other way and I don't have any other choice. But even if I weren't doing this, I would want all in. I would want all in. You know, when you're a kid, at some point when you're a kid, you have this conversation with your friends. If you found out today that you weren't really Jewish, you were adopted, would you stay Jewish or would you at some point you have that conversation. Maybe Shana Aleph, maybe it's in high school, whatever. So if you found out that you were Dal, you weren't really Jewish, would you make the choice now to convert, or would you stay not Jewish? Well, it's been one day eating cheeseburgers, then I would convert. Everyone has their discussion exactly how they time it, what they would do, what sin they would indulge in before they came back. Fine, it's a fun discussion. But the Rebbe says that Hayom, B'chol Yom, every day, as if I've just converted today. If I came out of the mikveh anew, fresh, enthusiastic today. And Rav Asher Weiss suggests that we see this elsewhere in our parsha as well. Later, in Perek Chavtes. Right then we have the Tochacha. Tochacha, this harsh, horrific rebuke, which is what we're going to take a closer look at in a moment. But in Perek Chavtes, the end of the parsha, the very end of the parsha, at the conclusion of the Tochacha, when Moshe offers his final charge to the Jewish people, towards the end of the parsha, Perek Chavtes Pasuk Gimel, V'lo Hashem lachem rat leiv ladas ve'inayim l'ros v'oznayim l'shmoa ad hayom hazeh. Moshe turns to the people and he says, Hashem has not given you a leiv ladas, a knowing heart, or eyes to see, or ears to hear, until when? Ad, there's that word again, ad, hayom hazeh. Until today. Until today. What does Rashi say here today? All we've seen so far are Rashis. What does Rashi say here? Sagt Rashi? Pasuk Gimel. Lahakir es chastei Kadosh Baruch Hu v'lidavik bo, to see the goodness of Hashem and to cling to Him. Ad hayom hazeh, until today. Shamati she'oso hayom she'nasa Moshe sefer HaTorah levnei Levi. What does it mean? Moshe turns to them and he says, until today, you experienced the Exodus, and you saw the splitting of the sea, and you stood at the base of our Sinai, and you went through 40 years in the Midbar. But until this moment, until this time, until today, you have not had a knowing heart, which itself deserves exploration. I would think a heart feels. I would think my brain knows. I see it, ears hear, got it right. That's correct. That's accurate. Leiv ladas. What is a knowing heart? It's an amazing expression. You have been given a knowing heart. I would think it's a knowing head and a feeling heart. What is a knowing heart? Our heart has to be informed by knowledge. Our brain has to be informed by emotions. But a leiv ladas, that's what we're striving for. The purely intellectual, rational, the people who are driven only by emotions and there's no thinking, no good. You need a leiv ladas. You need a heart, but it's an informed heart. It's a knowledgeable heart. It's a leiv ladas. So Moshe says, you didn't get that leiv ladas. You didn't get the eyes to have penetrating insight. You didn't get the ears to really hear. Ad hayom hazeh, till today. What happened today? Says Rashi, what happened today? Today was the day Moshe gave the Torah levnei Levi, his fellow tribesmen. He gave to the Levi, the tribe of Levi, a copy of the Torah. So what happened? Bo kol Yisrael lefnei Moshe v'amru lo. So the rest of the Jewish people, the other 11 tribes, come and they say, Moshe Rabbeinu, afanu amadnu b'Sinai v'kibalnu satorah v'nitbalanu. What's going on here? Today was the Chumash party, but the only ones invited were Levi. We also went through kindergarten. We also showed up every day. We were at Har Sinai. Why don't we get to come to the Chumash party? Why don't we get a Chumash? Imata mashlit is b'nei shivtucha alav v'yom lanu yom machar lo lachem nitna lanu nitna v'samach Moshe aladav. So how did Moshe react? How did the teacher, the Mora, the Ganenet, the Rebbe react when the kid said, why don't we get to go to the Chumash party? Why don't we get a Chumash? Moshe's so overjoyed. He's so happy by their protest. When they offer that protest and they say it's not fair to us, what does Moshe say? Oh, now you got it. Now you deserve it. Now you have that leiv ladas, einayim l'ros, oznayim l'shmoa. Now you get it. Now I know that you are devoted and eager to serve Hashem. What happened now? Nasa v'nishma wasn't good enough? They stood at Har Sinai and said, Nasa v'nishma, we will do and we'll listen. Whatever you tell us, we'll do even before we know what it's about. Nasa v'nishma wasn't good enough? It wasn't until this moment that they said, it's not fair to us, we want a Chumash at the Chumash party? That's when Moshe finally says, now you get it. Now you're Hashem's children. Ad hayom hazeh, today you became His people. Nasa v'nishma wasn't good enough. So Rav Asher Weiss suggests, Slonimer Rebbe says this is what we talked about similarly on Sunday, and the Rav says the same thing in his Chumash. So when Rosh Weiss, the Rav, and the Slonimer Rebbe all say the same thing, you know it's an emes pshat, Teiras emes. So they all say the same thing, which is Nasa v'nishma means I'll do it. I'm an automated robot. I'm a checklist person. You give me the checklist, I'll check it off, I'll do whatever you tell me, I'm in, I'll do it. What happened now different than being a robot? Being an automated robot, an autotron who's going to do whatever you tell. What happened now is they said, it's not fair to me. There's drive, there's ambition, there's an aspiration, there's competitiveness to be close to Hashem. What do you mean you're giving out chumashim and we're not getting any? We want. There's two attitudes the other kids could have had. I don't have to go to the chumash party, awesome. I'm going to stay home and play on my parents' iPad and I'm out of the chumash party. Who wants the chumash? Chumash means class, tests on chumash, teaching chumash. I don't want a chumash. That's one reaction. But they didn't have the reaction, I don't want a chumash, I'm exempt from class, I could stay and play on the playground. Instead they said, it's not fair to me, I want a chumash. When Moshe says, I see in you that you're not just doing it to discharge an obligation, you're not just doing it to put a check on a checklist, but there's enthusiasm and passion, there's devotion, you have aspiration and inspiration. Moshe says, now I see that you get it. You've got it, Hayom Hazeh, now you became a people. That's every day it should be renewed. And the renewal for us every day is, not every day I'm willing to check, I went to the daf and I went to the davening and I put on the thing and I said it. Not every day check, but every day we're driven by it being meaningful and purposeful. We're driven by the pneumius, the depth of what we're doing, the symbolism, the themes, which are transformative. So here we are 40 years later, and it's only now that Moshe really measures that they have a true eagerness. Now I see that you're devoted. Now I see that you want it. Today you've distinguished yourself, not just with your actions, not just the way you walk, but with what you are willing to do. You want it truly, and you want it in a very deep way. That's the Tachas HaShalom Avartas Hashem. That's the theme that I'm saying this morning on all of this and on the whole parsha. The theme is, don't just do it. Do it b'simcha. Do it with joy. Do it with excitement. Do it with a desire to come close. Do it with an understanding of the symbolism and the depth and the meaning of what we're doing and why we're doing it. To just do it, that's amazing. It's a beautiful gesture. It's a very nice notion. But to be willing to do it in an even deeper way, to do it because you understand what you're doing and you want to walk away transformed by what you're doing, that is a whole other level. And to be willing to do it over Ad Hayom Hazeh, every day, B'chol Yom V'Yom Yeh Kenecha K'Hadashim, to be new. And Rav Asher suggests at the end of this Dvar Torah, this insight, that's Pshat, we say every day, L'David Hashem Ori V'Rishi. Did it ever bother you? We change tenses in the pasuk. We go from Acha Sha'alti Me'es Hashem. Sha'alti is what Lashon, what form of past, of Lashon Avar. Sha'alti, wow, a bunch of grammarians here. That was quick. Acha Sha'alti Me'es Hashem, Oso Avakesh. What is Avakesh? Future. Sha'alti and Avakesh. And Rav Asher suggests we can explain that man goes through several stages in life. Each stage is marked by its own interests, its own dreams, and its own aspirations. What interests a child doesn't always interest an adult, while what interests an adult does not always interest the elderly. Man's thoughts are molded by his place in society. The aspirations of a pauper are different than those of a wealthy businessman. David HaMelech in particular saw many worlds. He began his career as a humble shepherd, concluded as a king of Israel. In the pasuk, you uplifted me from the pauper, from the dust, among the noblemen, is well applied to him. Yet throughout his life in youth and old age, in poverty and in riches, in ignominy and in fame, his heart's desire was nothing else than to study Hashem's holy Torah and to draw close to his loving embrace. What David HaMelech is saying, Sha'alti and Avakesh. The constant in my life. My socioeconomic status changed in my life, David says. I was a pauper, I was rich. I was hunted, a shepherd, I became the king of Israel. But the constant in my life of variables and change was Sha'alti and Avakesh. I always was a Mavakesh. I was searching for Hashem. That was the constant. Whatever status of my life, whatever identity in my life, whatever condition of my life, whatever was going on in my life, the one constant in my life was Sha'alti and Avakesh. I was a Mavakesh. I was searching, I was looking, I was yearning. It says in Rosh Weiss, that is what we are supposed to be doing during this time, is that whatever stage we are in life, working, retired, young, old, parent, grandparent, wherever we are in life, the constant should be that we're not satisfied, we're not complacent, we're not settled, we're yearning. my knowledge of the Parsha doesn't remain stagnant where it was 40 years ago. Every year I'm trying to grow and to improve and to change and to be different. I'm not living the same year over and over again, but every year I'm changing and I am progressing. And how do I do that? When I live with simcha, when there's meaning, when I have a leiv ladas. My heart wants to know. My knowledge wants to feel. I'm not just doing the mitzvah. I want to understand it intellectually, and I want to feel it, and I want the two to be working in tandem, so the mitzvahs transform me. L'man taskilu, our parsha says, when you keep mitzvahs in those ways, then l'man taskilu, then you live with an amazing, enormous sense of insight, a sense of mindfulness, a sense of presence. So I'm going to not even get into the psukim. I'm going to stop there with the overview of the parsha, because we really saw the theme from the beginning to the end. Bikurim till one of the last psukim in the parsha. We too, by the way, we prove our worth to Hashem ad hayom hazeh. With whatever you've been through in life, you could be 80 years old, 80 years of Yom Kippurs and Shabbos and Kashrus and Staka, 80 years of doing it right. But ad hayom hazeh, until we show the same enthusiasm that Klal Yisrael showed, that they said, we want a Chumash at the Chumash party. I want that opportunity. Until our aspiration is not to get away with the least, but to want more, then ad hayom hazeh, we haven't proven our leiv ladas. The evidence that we have that leiv ladas is that we bring that same attitude, that same enthusiasm, that there's a sense of newness and freshness each and every day, like the Piazetzner Rebbe. If only I could be a Ger Tzedek, if only I could have converted and showed you, Hashem, my devotion to convert to be your loyal servant. If only I would have that opportunity. When we show that, that's when we prove our worth. Have a great day.